I was hesitant to do this review because straight up, it's mostly negative. I feel like I was tricked into reading Throne of Glass. I promised someone who shall remain nameless, you know who you are, I'd read this book, so I couldn't even abandon it in the first couple of chapters when my instincts told me to snap it shut, set it on fire, and sprint towards the horizon. I'm not in the game of dishing out pure negativity, so let's see if I can find something nice to say. Look, I don't feel too bad. This book has over 100,000 positive reviews on Amazon. That's 100,000 4 or 5-star reviews, so I don't think my little opinion will affect the author at all. She seems to be doing quite well for herself, and I will try my best to say something positive. I'm digging deep, all right? Much deeper than the author dug when she constructed all these shallow characters. No, stay positive.
No fluff writing advice. Cut the fluff!
Before I verbally defecate all over Throne of Glass, more like Throne of... no, not yet. Let's be nice. All right, first things first. I heard the author, Sarah J. Maas, wrote Throne of Glass when she was 16. Whoa, that is impressive. I could barely write an email at that age. But I also heard she officially published it 10 years later. If this is the book we got after 10 potential years of revision plus professional editing and story development, what did the original look like? Whatever it was, it got traditionally published at some point. I genuinely want to study it for science. The thing is, this turd could have shone with a little more polishing. Yes, despite conventional belief, you can indeed polish most turds. But you must be willing to perform the polishing. In this case, the turd fails to shine. I swear I'm trying to be positive. All right, let's start with the good. It's not all terrible. Discuss the bad, a lot to cover there, and finish with the ugly. Honestly, I wanted to toss almost everything into the ugly pile, but I'm showing some restraint. For now. So, what nice things do I have to say about Throne of Glass? There was some decent world building, and the magic system was interesting. Magic supposedly vanished from the world, but that apparently doesn't apply to all forms of magic. There's mystery to the magic system. It's not fully explained, and that's fine, it's great. We don't need all the facts force fed down our throats in book 1, and apparently plenty of people somehow make it to book 2 and beyond. That wasn't very nice, was it? Okay, I can do better. Although there are plenty of questionable sentences, overall the prose is decent, outside of the dialogue. We'll get to that soon. The descriptions are vivid and the writing itself is mostly good at the sentence level. It's at every other level where it falls apart. Hey, I'm trying here. Story-wise, there are parts where I was genuinely engaged, pulled in by the mystery and intrigue, wanting to know more. I mean, they're the basics of storytelling, but they were there to some extent, and there was some genuine tension. Yeah. Well, that covers the good, what little of it there was, so let's discuss the bad. Where do I even start? Let's start here. What's the deal with Selena's, if that is how you say it, the main character's personality? This isn't a spoiler, you learn right at the start that she's been living in hellish conditions, but she doesn't act like it. She's quite jolly for the most part. While you could put this down to her being a hardened, stoic assassin, that's not her personality at all. The book talks about how horrific her experiences were, but in reality, the trauma that should be there is surface level at best. There's no depth to it, it's confusing. The salt mines were very traumatic, trust me. Well, instead of saying trust me, why don't you show that trauma in the character? Oh, well, they weren't that traumatic. Okay. Plenty of plot holes to go around. The author just makes things happen for convenience rather than basing them on logic. I could only guess how the story in its current form survived professional editing. If I did have to guess, maybe because the story was first published online and had a big readership, they didn't want to change too much for the book version. If that is the case, after reading the book, that was the wrong move. You could have fixed this mess. Alright, here's where things get ugly, or uglier. One butt-ugly issue that carried through the entire book was the protagonist herself. Straight up, Selena doesn't seem like an assassin, at least not by my definition. I went into this assuming assassins were crafty killers, clever as much as they are physically capable. In this world, it seems to not be the case. Selena, for the most part, is a moron. At one point, another character has to explain to her, the greatest assassin in the world, the advantages of blending in and not drawing attention to herself. It doesn't add up. In my mind, that's something any half-decent assassin would understand without explanation. Not in this world. Not for Selena, anyway. No wonder she got caught. Really, she's more of a warrior than a conventional assassin. She can fight, but she can't think. She's more like her rival in the tournament, the thick-headed soldier, than some crafty killer who lurks in the shadows and has gone before you even know she's been there. To make this book make sense, I've had to redefine what an assassin is in my mind. Subverting expectations is fine, but this just feels off. If Selena was presented as a warrior rather than an assassin from the start, it wouldn't have been such an issue, but she wasn't, and it was. After a while, you start to wonder if she even is the assassin everyone thinks she is. That would have been a nice twist that could have made sense. Oh, that's why she's too dumb to understand the advantages of subtlety. She's not really the assassin. She's just some skilled fighter who took the rap. Who's the real assassin then? Nah, sorry, she is a real assassin. She's just poorly written. Okay then. Other characters also behave oddly. At a certain point, some wild stuff happens. We're getting close to answers with plenty of clues and opportunities to solve the mystery and save the day. And characters just decide to do other stuff instead. Like some wild stuff clearly just happened, but instead of talking about it, would you tell me your entire life story up until the point of the really important plot critical stuff? Yes, this actually happened. At a certain point, I created the headcanon that everyone in the story has lead poisoning and is suffering from severe brain damage. It's the only way I can make sense of any character's actions. None of them seem to be thinking clearly. None. The villains are all two-dimensional. I don't think we ever learn anyone's motives. Not to mention the entire tournament, the premise the story's built on, has no real reason to take place. Without spoiling it, the king, who the tournament was allegedly organised for, isn't that interested in it. He has other stuff going on, and he's already decided who he wants as his champion. Why not just hire that person? Why risk them not winning? WTF, mate? Once you realise how pointless the tournament is, the entire story falls apart. It has no reason to exist. That's a bit of a problem. Oh, and the dialogue. It was ugly. I visualised what I'm reading fairly vividly, and every time someone spoke, I couldn't make it sound good in my head. Every scene felt like part of a poorly written, poorly acted high school stage play. What should have been big, pivotal, emotional scenes became laughable because the dialogue was so clunky and shallow. In the end, I just put that down to the lead poisoning. Honestly, Throne of Glass could have been set in a high school and the story wouldn't need to change. It has real high school drama vibes all the way through. Selena is the bad girl from another school, fresh out of juvenile detention for some crime or another. Maybe she shoplifted a pair of shoes. The king is a principal with Perrington in the vice principal role. The prince is a student at the school, favoured by his principal father but popular enough with the other students. The captain of the guard is head hall monitor, naturally. We've got the mean girl, Caltaine, the school bully, Kane. Instead of a tournament, maybe they're all competing for head prefect or some nonsense. Doesn't really matter. See, it works better. I could even withdraw my lead poisoning theory if they were all just high school kids. Teenagers often act like they've got brain damage. We've all been there. Suddenly, everything about Throne of Glass makes sense. It was a high school drama all along. The author just landed in the wrong setting. Time for a rewrite, I say. So, even though I didn't enjoy Throne of Glass, plenty of people did. At its core, it's mindless YA fun and potentially a gateway fantasy for some people. I can't speak for the rest of the series, but the success of the first book proves you don't need to write anything groundbreaking, logical, or even conventionally good to find an audience and be successful as an author. There's a positive, sort of. Now, I've heard that starting the series with book 3 can be a better experience, but I also feel like I'm being tricked again. I'd love to hear the opinion of anyone who struggled with book 1 like I did, but enjoyed the later books. If it's all the same, I won't put myself through that hell again. But if it's worth the effort, I may wipe my Throne of Glass experience from memory and start fresh with book 3. Is that a good move? Or am I setting myself up for a bad time? I'm definitely setting myself up to be tricked again, aren't I? If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe. If you didn't enjoy this video, hit subscribe anyway, and hate watch my content. That's always fun.